You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Now, I've said many occasions that one of my favorite shows is Billions on Showtime, but my favorite show on television debuts. The season premiere is this Sunday night. It's on the Stars Network, and it stars my brother, Omari Hardwick. The show Power, and Omari Hardwick is on the line. My brother, what's going on, man? How you doing?
My brother is your world. I'm trying to figure it out, brother.
Listen, you're doing a hell of a lot better than that. First of all, before I even get into Power, what the hell is going on with you? You seem to be doing everything today. Could you just lay it out for me? Because your star has ascended so significantly. What's going on in the world of Omari Hardwick right now?
I think first and foremost, you got on me a while ago, Stephen. I feel like it was almost a decade ago when you said, or at least 8 years ago, would have been leading into Being Mary Jane, when you said, all of these characters, notwithstanding, and no disrespect to the characters and the writers that wrote these characters, brother, nobody can write, what you are and who you are and all the colors that you possess inside of you. And so I always remembered that. I just really, really locked into that, and I thought, Ghost is definitely hats off to him. I got to pay homage to Courtney Kemp and Curtis Fiddeason Jackson and Stars for allowing me to fly with this character in the show, and the teammates, the great cast that I've been able to fly next to. But in reality, I kept thinking, if it's the stepping stone for me to be able to stand atop the mountain and scream out, there's so much more to Omari than just this guy. And there's a lot to Ghost. He's wide as he can be. If he's 45 feet wide, I always figured, Omari could show the world that I was a little bit wider, man, if not a lot bit wider. So This is that moment, from Sorry to Bother You with Boots Riley, Lakeith Stanfield and Danny Glover, Armie Hammer, Tessa Thompson, to A Boy or Girl a Dream, another Sundance hit with Qasim Bashir at the helm directing, and Megan Good, and then, of course, running around with Gentleman Jack as a personality, as a face for that brand. And then I'm doing a one-man show, brother, as you know, right here in Brooklyn, right where Biggie grew up, right around the corner from his high school, boys and girls, and doing this cool spot, Billie Holiday Theater, the Restoration Hall, and doing a one-man show just about my journey, to bring people back to the beginnings of I guess, what became not only Omari, but all of these characters that came out of me. So, and the music will soon come. I'm doing music as well. So you're right, man. Just trying to show the world everything that comes out of me before I'm gone.
The one and only Omari Hardwick from Power, and then some, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. And that one-man show in Brooklyn, I mean, when does that start? When can people find you there? When can people see you there?
So it starts tomorrow night. Tonight, obviously, is the premiere for Power, which is why I asked you where you were. You told me you're in Bristol. I was like, bum, because I want you to be walking the red carpet with me tonight, which would have been the bomb.
Oh, you saying tonight? Tonight's the premiere.
Tonight is the premiere. I mean, you got you and the world watch it, of course, 9-point-some million viewers and beyond, right? 176 countries, just so freaking humble. Watch it Sunday night with you, but then the premiere is actually tonight, and the one-man show is tomorrow night in Brooklyn, and then during the season, when Courtney and Curtis and the team of stars allow me, then I'll be platooning or moonlighting with Saturday night shows at the same theater in Brooklyn. And then ultimately, when the season of Power ends, we're going to take the one-man show on the road.
Omari Hardwick right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio doing his thing. Talk to me about Power here, because, you see, I'm not going to get too deep into the woods because, I've seen every episode. What is this season going to bring? Talk to me about the huge storyline, the most compelling storyline from this season coming up. What is it in your mind?
I would imagine. You know what? I would imagine. I can start with saying, and there's so many people that obviously wanted me to, as a parent, but more specifically as a father, to jack Tariq, Michael Rainey's Tariq, up by the collar, put my foot in his ass, of course, and set him straight, because he's on a spiral downward. But the problem is, I guess one of the biggest thematic points this season would be the fact that this is still a father who is lying to his son, right? So he's never really come clean with his son. So how much expectancy can be there between Ghost and wanting his son to be honest back? So there's that contentious point between a father and a son, which I believe even in its mess, there's texture and beauty in that. In reality, there's truth in that. A lot of fathers can relate. So even more men will relate to the show this year. But maybe more imperatively, the storyline of the two women, that being Notorious Tasha, who plays my wife, and then the mistress played by Leela Lauren, Angela. Those two got to corroborate. They got to kind of hang out with each other, at least in the locker room or in the woman's in the woman's room for a moment, just to figure out who done it. The whole season is about who done it, whether it's Dre and what he's done, having Kanan hang out now with Ghost and Tommy. That triumvirate, how is that going to work? That's a hell of a backcourt. I don't know who's point guard, who's shooting guard, who's the power forward. I mean, I would imagine Kanan's the power forward, and Tommy is the shooting guard, and definitely Ghost is the point guard. But that'll be really, really interesting. But I think the two women hanging out, that's going to raise a lot of hairs on the backs of necks of women out there in the world.
You know what? I got to interrupt it, and I'm going to get a little into the woods for the show. One of the things that bothers me, the only thing that's ever bothered me about the show Power was this, Omari. Early in the show's history, you asked Tasha, your wife, what her aspirations were for you. And you essentially, to paraphrase, you pointed out to her, look, being a drug dealer, I mean, I ain't a retirement plan here. I don't sit there or in a rocking chair living life happily ever after, continuing to do this. She wanted you to do this where Angela, the mistress, fed into your dreams as to you being a legit, bona fide legal citizen, not engaging in any illegal activity, etc. And I think that played a role in why you loved her so much. And to me, you've never confronted Tasha about her unwillingness to let you get out of that world.
Yeah, I think I love it. It's interesting because, to me, Stephen A., knowing Omari as a younger brother to you for a minute now, and you being my older brother, the reality is you're talking, the reason you and I root for Draymond so much is because all three of us are aggressive, right? We're never passive-aggressive, which I don't have a lot of respect and space for passive-aggressive humans, particularly men, just in terms of the way I was raised. They have no bottom to them if they're passive-aggressive. But the level of action that Omari would take is obviously that of aggression, or aggressive aggression. And so I would definitely be what you wouldn't have an issue with, because I would have been very forthright, very forthcoming, and said to the wife or whomever's playing the wife, I would have said a litany of things and laid them all out. And so that when I gave her walking papers, it was all there and it was all clear and definitive. But Ghost, I think the issue with him, and part of what makes him so complex, in a different way complex, is that he's still a broken kid, Stephen. This is still a man who wasn't raised with a mother. His mother, surrogately, is obviously Tommy's mother, who is a drug addict. His father was an alcoholic. We don't get into that much. So Courtney has really created this guy to be a loner of sorts, but he's a broken loner. So he, dare I say, kind of goes the direction of passive aggression at times. He'll call you out, and as it pertains to a man, I think that he's aggressive when he's dealing with men. Right. But when he's dealing with women, all of the women that are players in this thing, even the women that he's worked with in the nightclub scene, he's definitely one of those that shows his boyishness, his Jamie maybe, that three-headed monster of Ghost, Jamie, and James. I think his Jamie shows up as it pertains to women. Now, obviously, he can be a little bit more aggressive with Tasha because they've got a family together, and you know how that goes. He's made kids with this woman. But he's still a little afraid to really kind of smack her, figuratively speaking, as it pertains
definitely
to...
Definitely figuratively. We got to watch that language in today's day.
But figuratively speaking, which we need to italicize, bold print, and put red on it and the whole thing, it's difficult for him to do that because he still honors the fact that she knows secrets about him, if that makes sense. Yes. She knows things that in the beginnings of the show, at least in the genesis of the show, Leela's Angela did not know. So he's seen as this guy that's sort of straddling the fence, but in reality, he's kind of paying homage to the fact that Tasha knows some things. That's the bonding to his Clyde.
With all of that being said, how much longer are you going to be doing Power? I love it. The show seems like it could go on for several more seasons, but you obviously have incredible aspirations for your career, bigger, grander plans on the horizon. How much longer are you good for this, man?
I think until the truth comes to an end. I mean, the truth of the story. I really believe and I know, Stephen, there are a lot of us that were raised on good films and, would come into the bedroom, and if we didn't have a pops at home, at least a grandpops or an uncle who'd be watching incredible movies that, you crawl up next to them on the couch and you figure out what they're watching, and then you start to learn how to pick out quality programming. Obviously, TV now has a lot of quality programming, and I definitely think, and am humbled by you stating that we will go down perhaps as one of the great 20 dramas of all time. But I would imagine that when we watch the end of one of the great programs of all time, that definitely is the precursor to Power, and that being Sopranos. By the time it came to an end, 7 seasons, yeah, there are people that might argue the fact that it could have gone 3 more seasons or the story wasn't complete yet. But as long as Courtney and Curtis in the writer's room keep challenging the story and keep stretching it in a way when I look at it and I come to the table reads for whatever that episode may be, as long as I look at it and go, no, there's still a lot to be played. Ghost is still not flushed out and complete. Right. Being flushed outness, maybe to Steven's point, when is the point where Ghost actually can be more aggressive in stating the issues that he has with everybody on the chessboard, and then calling himself out and really having to look in the mirror, particularly this season, right? We're going to go from this season, and you got to talk about the fact that this man lost his daughter and is blaming everybody else, Steven. No. But let's be real. It's got to be some onus on him. The fact that his daughter died and he's the drug dealer. So if the truth remains on the page, Stephen, you got Omari still in the locker room. Once I feel like it's going to a place, then I'm like, I'm cool.
With that being said, let me get to some truth about the basketball world. Let me transition from that harsh transition because we got to get on out of here in a couple of minutes or so. You are a basketball fan. You friends with some NBA players, okay?
Yes, sir, brother.
I mean, the free agency that's going on. And by the way, I was hearing that LeBron is might have been in Miami. That's people are saying in this game, that's not true. That's not true at all. Somebody's lying. But the bottom line is that LA's a possibility. Cleveland's a possibility. We don't know what the hell is going on. Kevin Durant, LeBron, Kawhi, Paul George.
Why?
Break it down. What are your thoughts real quick about this whole free agency mess?
I think, it's funny, man. I was just having a conversation at one of those Gentleman Jack talks, and I talked about the fact that, first and foremost, we had to pay honor to the fact that you could have somebody like Bill Russell walk away with 11 rings, and in one of those years, coaching. You and I talked about that before. And then, go and march for some activist purposes that were very necessary during the time and the era and not make any money. And then we talked about the fact that Kevin Garnett, at this talk the other night, Kevin Garnett comes in and the monetary gain shift. Even Michael Jeffrey Jordan really only played for, $3 million, the better parts of his career up until those last 3 years where he got close to $30 million or whatnot. But when I look at the money that floats around, I think about LeBron and everybody's desire for him to go to L.A. or other people's desire for him to remain put. I'm like, I guess he's got 4 more good ones. I would like to see some of those players be the way that Kobe was able to call out his career or call it to an end. His story finished at the same place that it started. Tim Duncan, same thing. So the free agency thing to me has become a little bit too aggressive, if that's the word. I feel like players are just at this point forgetting perhaps why they got in the sport. For me, it's a rhetorical question that I'm asking myself, but is it a business, Stephen A., or is it still sport and fun? Is it competition? Is it game? Is it wanting to out your opponent at the team where you started out, where your opponent maybe perhaps beat you while you're on that team? Or do you just jump ship and go, well, forget about it. I'll start a new thing, crank it up over here, and get even more dollars while doing it. So I think about Kawhi. I always thought he enjoyed playing under the tutelage of Popovich. Obviously, his personality is not one where we know much. He doesn't say but a few words. And you got Paul George, who's one of my favorite players. You got Ariza, who I always really, really liked. When he was with the Lakers, I liked him. I thought that he's one of those quiet, just do-gooders who works his ass off. You think about Sean Livingston, who ironically the world probably don't know, but that movie Next Day Air, where so many people like my character Shavu and what Michael Epps did and Wood Harris and Donald Faison and Mos Def, that ironically is produced by Sean Livingston, who sort of teeters in my industry, but he's one of those great players, and now he's up for free agency, and he's hurt so early in his career that maybe a lot of people overlook the fact that the injury was as pubescent as his chronological age was. So he has been able to fit in, and now he's freaking a part of a dynasty. So it'll definitely be interesting to see where all of these players, pun intended, end on the board. It's going to give you a lot of stuff to talk about. But
you know it.
But I definitely want to see. I want to see where LeBron ends, and I want to see where Kawhi ends up, and again, Trevor Ariza and Paul George. Man, I really, really like Paul George a lot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him.
Omari Hardwick, I'm proud of you, my brother. Thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, brother. I love you so much, Stephen A.
Man, when are you, the debut for Power, I mean, the premiere is tonight, right?
So the premiere is tonight. The red carpet is tonight. I'll be smiling and grinning.
Now where is this at?
Good people.
Now where is this
Radio
at
City Hall, Stephen A. They brought us up.
Radio City Music Hall?
Man, they brought us up. Roger, wait, that's crazy to me.
Are you ready for this?
I'm going to try to be ready. I'm going to take a shower tonight, clean up, put on the good cologne, put on the good stuff. I'll be all right.
I'm coming tonight.
Oh, man, I love it.
I'm coming.
Oh, Stephen A.
I'm coming.
What a surprise, bro. Thank you, man.
All right, my brother.
Thank you, bro.
All the best.
My brother.
All right,
Power to the people. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Peace.
The one and only Omari Hardwick from Power Stars Network. Star of Power, Omari Hardwick. Boy, he's fantastic. What a tremendous, tremendous job he's doing with that show. 50 Cent, the whole crew, everybody's special right now.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.